afternoon, also possibly good morning, Recruitment Boot Camp attendees. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is the afternoon where I am. This is Allison Abe-Sacra with ACU. I am joining you from sunny Orange Beach, Alabama. I'm speaking at the Primary Care Association conference here later today. It is gorgeous weather, and if you hear any background noise, that is literally the acoustic singer by the pool downstairs. They're really trying to give you the full experience no matter where you are in this hotel. Thanks so much for joining us for this first homework assignment office hour. I'm extremely thrilled to be the one to share this first little task with you. My goal here is to explain to you what the homework is, explain to you where you can get it, how to do it, what really needs to happen, and then set you free. So we're going to have time available for questions at the end. Normally, as we go through week by week, this will be the time that you can ask questions about the presentation the week before, or if you've already got a jump start in the homework or having problems with it. But since this is kind of our first couple of weeks, we don't necessarily need to do that. So lots of opportunity for questions in both the chat and online, but my goal is to get you out of here quickly so that you have some more time freed up in your schedule. Hopefully, as soon as you get off this line, you will jump right into doing your homework assignment. So I will start with the basic review that you guys are already sort of familiar with, which is our faculty. I'm Allison Abe-Sacra there, and then you know about Mariah. Blake, who's also on the line to take your questions now and is always available via email, as well as Ann Hogan and Suzanne Spear, who you'll continue to hear from throughout the rest of this series. Here's a little bit, here I am. Hi, I'm the Vice President of Training and Programs. That's not really me, but it's a shockingly good likeness. I do all kinds of things for ACU, but I started the STAR Center many years ago, and I'm thrilled to have this opportunity to chat with you and share with you a resource that I hope you'll learn a lot of, as well as it's going to be your homework assignment. So we really want to start this entire boot camp experience by getting a really clear sense of where you are. And it's not just for us at ECU and the STAR Center to know where you are, it's also for you to get a good sense of, okay, if I'm being really realistic about where our organization is in terms of needs, what our compensation looks like, what possible challenges we have, you've got to start somewhere. And it helps if you all are starting kind of on the same page with each other. You can talk with each other and share where you might find some initial problem points. And that takes us to your first homework assignment, which is your self-assessment tool. This is a web-based self-assessment that takes you through a number of questions that really tries to find out where are you now, what are some initial recommendations we can make to you based on just what you want to share with us through that assessment, what additional questions you might ask throughout the time with us, and give you any immediate feedback based on, oh, well, you've said, 85% of your clinicians are close to retirement age. Let's talk about how to deal with that. So it's actually a really great exercise to do with your team and to get a good sense of where you're actually starting from instead of just jumping right into, okay, how do I get more people? How do I get more people? It's got a number of different sections. We put the titles here. There's a piece on provider capacity. There's some on infrastructure. There's some on recruitment plan. Whether or not you have one and what components are in that, retention plan, again, whether or not you have one and what components are in that, leadership at your organization, some questions on compensation. That's an easy thing everybody loves to talk about and a lot of people have questions about right away. So we'll get a sense of where you are there, and as well as hitting on some other strategies like your use of loan repayment programs, the National Health Service Corps, and where you stand with PCMH status, all that kind of stuff. I can tell you right now, the first section on provider capacity, when you're looking on it, looking at it, it's gonna maybe feel a little bit overwhelming because of the style of it. It's this big grid, and it's asking you, which providers you have, what FTE for which type. If you are looking at it and feeling totally overwhelmed by it, just know that that is, the only question like that, number one. And number two, it's okay if you make your best guess. The point of this is to start you kind of on your journey through this boot camp and to give us some additional context about where we might be able to help you the most. But it is not required that it be strictly 100% factually correct every single way. So if you get to that question early on, or if you get to any of the questions later and you think this is way too overwhelming to even try and come up with this data or get a sense, please feel free to, make your best guesses and move forward. But when you get to those pieces, really take note, at least write it down somewhere and share with your team to say, ECU asked us to pull together this list, and I realized we don't have that data completely organized where we need to have it, and it was really hard for me to try and pull that together. So just even taking note of some pressure points as you're filling out this assessment, but I really don't mean to scare you. It's a great tool. We have tested it out in the field for a couple of years and continue to get great feedback. It's going to email you back with a copy of your report and some initial recommendations. And then we'll get a copy as well when you complete it. So we'll know when you've done your homework for this week. And hopefully, even if you have to do it by yourself without your team, you can take that PDF and those recommendations to your team right away to say, oh, here's where we are. I didn't realize X, Y, Z was true. So just a couple of things to keep in mind on that. I've mentioned them already, but really wanted to kind of hammer it home. Try to do this assignment with your team, whoever that team may be, whoever's kind of involved in recruitment or recruitment planning or thinking about recruitment at your organization. If you need to, make your best guesses. Of course, with all things in life, it's better if you are clear about what's true, because this is really the start of your data journey. So we're going to be able to assess, hopefully, at the end of this, you can take the self-assessment again and say, oh, I see where we've really made some concrete progress on the recruitment planning or on any of these pieces. And you'll also have something that you can test against yourself going forward. So for example, the next year. So let's say you do this boot camp, you make some immediate changes to your recruitment planning in that section of your self-assessment. But then lots of other things change and you work on retention next, or you work on some internal workforce data. You can keep coming back to the assessment and the answers along the way to get a sense of where you are and where you're going. So that's the big thing, is the self-assessment, but it's actually a two-parter. So if there are any questions on the self-assessment, now's a great time to pop up before I move to the second kind of piece. You can, chat is probably the easiest. I see Mariah has just put into the chat box the link to the self-assessment tool. This page on our website also has some more information on it. So take a peek, get comfortable with it, and I'll give it a beat for questions before I go into just the second smaller part of the homework. Okay, hearing none for now. If you have questions, again, here for the next little bit, but also feel free to email Mariah really at any time, and she can help you with anything you're having problems with, if it's accessing the homework or you have a question about how to fill it out or anything like that. We are here to help you. So the self-assessment is the big thing. Really hope you'll enjoy doing it. But the second thing we want to make sure that you're doing is posting on the discussion board. So this is going to be an ongoing thing through the course, through the Recruitment Boot Camp. The self-assessment tool itself is kind of a one-off, and then you'll have different types of homework. But the discussion board is going to be the one thing that kind of stays consistent and is the part of this Recruitment Boot Camp experience that makes sure you're connecting with each other. So I know you guys covered a little bit of that the last time. I'm just going to do really quickly a walkthrough of how you get there. Mariah's highlighted in these little green little green kapow signs. You can see if you're on our website at chcworkforce.org, there's a couple of different ways you can get to it by hitting platforms or clicking on the little orange guy in the corner. And then you'll have to log in. Again, if you're having troubles logging in, I know a couple of you have not yet accessed that discussion board. So now's, again, a good time while you're in front of the computer to try to do that. And then once you're in, you're going to see this page on the right that says dashboard, and it says 2018 Recruitment Boot Camp. So you can click there. And then once you're in, you're going to see a bunch of different little discussion boards, but it's going to say for your first week, you're going to have these assigned questions. So we've put these questions up, and we want you to log on to the discussion board and answer these 2 questions. And you'll see, because we're still on this beginning of the boot camp stuff, we're going to ease you into it before we jump into the harder stuff. First, just introduce yourself, name, title, location, experience, anything you want to share with anybody else. We hope also you'll read through what other people have added and hear, get to virtually meet people who are on the discussion board and in this boot camp. Feel free to respond to each other. Say, oh, hi, I'm also from Arkansas, or whatever the case may be. And then tell us about a specific recruitment process you feel strong in and one you feel challenged by. So in this situation, a recruitment process is one of the pieces that we're going to be pulling apart together. So an example of a recruitment process would be like interviews. You could say, I feel really great at doing in-person interviews and understanding if somebody's a good fit or not. But one thing I feel really challenged by is pulling up a contract quickly to work out with people. So think through, again, which things you want to share with your peers and you could offer and people could ask you about, and then put something out there that you feel like you would be open to hearing from others about how they're doing a really good job on those things. And it's kind of annoying, I know, to like go on and have to log on and do this, but talking with each other and using that board is going to make this experience so much better for you. And it's also going to mean that you have relationships that you can take with you after this boot camp is over and continue to check in with each other. So discussion board questions, smaller, should take just a few minutes of your time, but still a really important component of kind of your work and your homework for this week. So that's it. That's all that you have to do. We're really serious about trying to keep the amount of work for this done and just make it really impactful, meaningful work. So you've got to do the self-assessment. Again, the link is in the chat right now. It's also posted on the discussion board. You can also just search for it on our website. So log in there, fill out that self-assessment, and then also log in to the discussion board and fill out those questions. And then actually I'm going to be with you next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern to do our next webinar, and that's actually our first substantive piece, and we're going to dive into some of those recruitment processes, and we'll tailor based on what we hear on your self-assessment. If you have not yet completed your pre-evaluation, please do so. That was some of your old homework. So a couple of you are late getting started. We're going to be generous about it this first, but I hope you'll get into the habit of just doing stuff and filling that out. And please feel free to contact Mariah with questions. So we're just right on time as planned. What questions do you all have about completing the self-assessment, the discussion board questions, or tuning in for next week? I am seeing no raised hands and no questions in chat. So with that, I will release you. I hope that you are able to, right now, since you have the time blocked for the 30 minutes, that you want to just jump on right now and get some of that homework done, make the best use of your time. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll talk to you again next week.